So, in the midst of the fact that we're going to have Devin Haney fighting Keyshawn Davis, and they're putting their fight together, that's been all over social media. There's a purse bid that's supposed to happen, but if it doesn't happen, it means they will have successfully negotiated a fight. In the midst of all that stuff, Debo Dev and the businessman, we had two fighters that were frustrated that they didn't get to fight either one of those guys, and those two fighters were Brian Norman Jr. and Tiger Johnson. Obviously, Brian Norman Jr. lost to Devin Haney. He's trying to build his way back to a potential Devin Haney rematch, but he's made it very clear and very known that he wants to fight Keyshawn Davis. And I asked Keyshawn Davis about fighting Brian Norman Jr., and he said yes, but he pretty much said no because he said he don't got a title, right? So in his mind, he said it don't make sense. Brian Norman Jr. didn't like that, right? Tiger Johnson, on the other hand, he wants to fight Devin Haney for more personal reasons. He got jumped and stomped out by a lot of Devin Haney's, I guess you could say team or friends, whatever you want to call it. So that's not even about a world title. That's not even like really a legacy fight. That's the general principle Super Bowl. That fight's all about GP, right? General principle and just respect as a man, right? So he wants to go run it with Devin for that reason and for those reasons. So both those guys were frustrated about feeling like they lost out on those opportunities for the near future, right? And Brian Norman Jr. pretty much said out the following, and I quote, "Man, these MFs ain't trying to fight." And Tiger Johnson wound up quote tweeting him, and then Brian Norman said, "What are you trying to get into?" Back to Tiger Johnson, and then Tiger Johnson said, "Let's make it happen." So by the sounds of it, by the looks of it, judging by the overall optics and the overall scope of what's been put out there, I think we might have a fight here, ladies and gentlemen, between two of the most electric welterweight contenders in the world, Brian Norman Jr. and Tiger Johnson. And quite, honestly, two of my favorite welterweights in the sport right now. I like this fight. If these guys are serious, which I have no reason to believe that they aren't serious, this is a fight I would be very excited about. You know how I tell you guys in my lives, and if you watch the lives, and if you're not watching the lives, what are you doing? Make sure you start watching the lives. But I tell a lot of you guys in my lives, every year in boxing, there's anywhere from 4 to 6 fights that I really get up for, and everything else is just me kind of enjoying making my content, but they're not really fights that I'm overly excited about. It's just my job, right? But there's 4 to 6 fights every year I really get up for. And I'll tell you this right now, if Brian Norman Jr. and Tiger Johnson wind up fighting each other, that's going to qualify as one of those fights for me. And I'm going to tell you guys why. First and foremost, stylistically speaking, I think it's an awesome fight. When you talk about Tiger Johnson, you're talking about a fighter with a very educated jab, but you got to understand something about Tiger Johnson. He's a real deal Midwest fighter, and if you know anything about fighters from the Midwest, they love to throw combinations. They love to put the exclamation point on their performances, and he's no different. So I do think his jab, his speed, his amateur experience, and his combination punching make him a very difficult equation for Brian Norman Jr. to solve. On the other hand, on the other side, y'all know how much I love Brian Norman Jr., and unlike a lot of people out there, I haven't abandoned Brian Norman Jr. That's still one of my favorite fighters. That's still someone that, I get excited to watch fight, and I still think highly of, and I still think can do some great things in the sport of boxing. Definitely one of the most electric punchers in the sport. Has a very, very unique blend of punching power, athleticism, and things like that. Obviously, I still think his boxing could use some work. His technical boxing could use some work, but he's got a good jab. He could be, he's got some good building blocks to work with. But it's all about putting it together and making him an overall complete fighter. And that's what Ronnie Shields, his new coach, is in the process of doing. So you mix the pot up of both these guys, and I think you got a damn good fighter welterweight. And then even from a political standpoint, it makes a lot of sense because these guys are ranked very, very highly. Brian Norman Jr. is number 2 in the WBO, number 4 in the WBC, number 7 in the WBA, and number 6 in the IBF. So he's ranked across all 4 governing bodies. Tiger Johnson's highest ranking is number 10 in the WBO. So a win here, I firmly believe, puts the winner in a position to really come out here and say, you know what, I'm ready to fight for a world title. Or in the case of Brian Norman Jr., I'm ready to fight for a world title again. So I love the fight. Breaking it down, I'll tell you guys this. The way I see it is I give Tiger Johnson a slight edge. And I'm going to tell you why I give Tiger Johnson a slight edge. I give Tiger Johnson a slight edge because of his pedigree. I give Tiger Johnson a slight edge because I think, he is the better technically boxer, and he's got the better feet. However, Tiger Johnson, as I just mentioned, likes to exchange. And if you exchange with Brian Norman Jr., that is always a dangerous proposition. That is always going to be something that, may get you in some real trouble. Ask Giovanni Santillan. Ask Jin Sasaki. Ask Daryl Cuevas. Even ask Devin Haney. Devin Haney will tell you himself, Brian Norman Jr. was better than I thought he was. And obviously he had to respect his punching power. So if Tiger goes in there and steps to Brian Norman Jr., it's a very, very dangerous proposition, but I think he's capable. I think he's capable, and I've always thought highly of Tiger Johnson for years. I'm actually one of the few people in boxing media that picked him to beat Nicholas Flaus when everyone was saying he wasn't really anything. So I like Tiger, and I look at it as kind of like a 53-47 type fight, giving Tiger Johnson a slight edge. But like I said, I know Brian Norman Jr. is a hard worker. He's someone that takes correction very, very well, and he's going to go in there and do whatever he can on a day in and day out basis to be the best version of himself. So I don't think I'm going to see the same Brian Norman Jr. that I saw in the Devin Haney fight or Sasaki or Santillan as he continues to get more time with Ronnie Shields, and Ronnie Shields begins to implement his ideas and his boxing philosophies and imprint upon Brian Norman Jr. So, I love the fight. And I hope the fine folks at Top Rank can put it together because from the way I see it, there really is no better fight out there right now at this moment in time for either guy. All the champions, with the exception of Liam Paro, who I think is going to be busy soon, are all busy. Rolly's fighting Tio, Ryan's fighting Conor Benn, Devin is on the cusp of fighting Keyshawn Davis. So if we're talking about what is the biggest fight either one of them can get, I believe it's each other. And the winner of this fight to me emerges as a clear, contender for a title shot in early 2027 if they can get it done this year. So I love this fight. And I hope it can get done soon. And respect to both guys. They both do their cities of Atlanta and Cleveland, Ohio. Very, very proud. And like I said, I don't know if I'll be in Japan when and if these guys fight. But if I'm not in Japan and I'm in the States, I will be at this fight 1,000% because it's one of those fights. It's one of those fights that I'm going to really, really be up for because it's just two very dynamic, electric welterweights. In fact, I would definitely say from a stylistic standpoint, you're not going to do much better in this weight class than Brian Norman Jr. versus Tiger Johnson. So fingers crossed it gets done. And shout out to both men for at least getting the talks going and hopefully stepping up to the plate when the contracts get passed and making the fight happen for the boxing fans. Let's hope it happens. So leave your comments down below. Who are you favoring and why? Let me know in the chat down below. And I'll see you guys in the next video.